So, to our Nigerian brothers and sisters watching this, let me, I'm going to take you over the fence.
Okay.
And I just want you to see the world from our perspective.
Yeah.
Okay. So South Africa has 300 years of colonization with the black man and the black woman at the lowest rungs of society. Then there is a South African war that takes place. It used to be called the Anglo-Boer War. I'm sorry if I always start with, the history is important to me.
No, put the history. We
So
need it.
there was the Anglo-Boer War, but it was actually the South African War. But in this war that took place, the fight was for who would run South Africa between the British and the Dutch descendants called Boers. And the Dutch descendants won. And circa 1948, they come into power and they establish a government based on separate development. That's where the word apartheid comes from, aparthood. And again, if you study the social ladder, black man and the black woman is right at the bottom. You know, do you know that there was a test they would give you to see if you're black in South Africa? It was called the pencil test. And so they would put a pencil in your hair. And if the pencil stuck, you were black.
Because it's nappy hair.
It's a snappy hair. But if you're like Trevor Noah, who's colored, in the colored community, there are, how do I explain this? Even coloreds are different. They're dynamic. And so there are some coloreds who've got flowy hair. And then there are some coloreds like Trevor who's got like afro hair. And so the test was, are you black? We stick a pencil in your hair. And if the pencil stays, you're black.
Yo, nobody comes up with innovation better than racists, bro.
Let me tell you, man.
I'm telling you, top tier racism unlocks. Unlocks things, man.
Weapons, bombs. You're just like, y'all are really invested in your hatred, though. You know? Remember when they used to do those skull tests in the show with the black man's skull?
Yes.
To the white,
Like they had to have scientific backing for it. I'm like, you guys are dedicated.
Yeah.
Like I could just hate you, but I don't need to do all this research.
Nobody spends more time finding proof than a liar.
Yes.
You know, because the proof, the truth doesn't need to be, doesn't need to be lied about. Anyway, so I make this point only to say that the reason these tests existed was because being black meant something. It made you at the lowest rung of society. Even there were rules and laws around jobs. So we had a Job Reservation Act, which meant certain jobs were reserved for certain population groups. Yeah. So it didn't matter how capable or talented you were. If you were not that population group, an immutable quality, you couldn't get the job. Okay. Now, I say that only to make the point. Early 1980s, the fever changes, the politics change, the geopolitics change. In 1990, South Africa, of course, is taken out of the kind of the global world, is shunned. We are removed from the Olympics, we're removed from the World Cup, all of these things. 1990, Nelson Mandela gets released from prison. And he wasn't released because of the goodwill of the other side. He was released because the economic system of apartheid could no longer sustain. Sooner or later, even for racists, things come down to economics. That's why none of us knew Elon Musk true belief until it affected his wallet. Then we saw it, right? Anyway, so in 1994, when the miracle of South Africa happens and we all take to the vote, one man, one vote, and the country's freed and the laws change. For the first time, you can be black and successful and not an exception. Because there were black successes before that. My own mentor who passed away, Richard Maponya, built businesses during apartheid. But he had to find workarounds around the law. So you had to be an exception to succeed. But now you could be black and make it. So around that time, the blacks are like, man, finally, let me get me a shot. And then out of nowhere,
these goddamn Nigerians,
now shows up Chica now. Who's this now? And then, Chica, she grew up in the US, and then she went to the school, and I'm like, hold on, I didn't go to the US. What's this about? And Chica's like, yeah, and she's got all this. So the tension is because it's like we're just like, can we just get a minute? Can we just give us 50 years. 50 years, let me get a bit of the pie. Y'all can come later.
Nigerians said, hell no.
The Nigerians are like, no, we are here. So I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think the struggle is, this is why, it's why I take the work I do in the continent so seriously, because I understand the subliminal messaging that there are fellow countrymen who see me and go, "Why is he always there? Why would he wear a kaftan? And why? And what I'm trying to show them is we're all just people. Like we all have families. We're trying to put food on the table. We all have dreams and aspirations. And everywhere you go, everybody's struggling with something.
Yeah.
And that actually, if we bonded around what makes us common than what makes us different, we would go a lot further, much quicker. So that's the part of the story that often is not told. And there are other nuances to it, but that's probably the major thematic part that I think if it was understood from the other end, people go, okay, got it.
As South Africans, we are finding ourselves in a position whereby we have to deal and respond to a campaign for deliberate misinformation. This misinformation, it is not coincidental. It is misinformation that is well coordinated with an aim of defeating what South Africans are trying to achieve when they are complaining and protesting about the presence of illegal foreigners, but not just illegal foreigners, even foreigners who are here in the country legally, but they misled the authorities in terms of why they are here in the country. Meaning, they never declared their real intentions as to why they are entering South Africa. Now, because South Africans are raising these questions, then there's now this well-funded campaign to discredit South Africans and their genuine concerns. This campaign has two characteristics: that it is funded and coordinated within the country and outside the country. Within the country, the people who are spearheading this campaign, of course, it is the economic freedom fighters, the EFF, under the tutelage of its leader, Julius Malema. When I'm saying this, of course, I'm conscious of the fact that there's thousands and hundred thousands of members of the EFF who identify with the genuine concerns that are being raised by South Africans. But because of how the EFF is structured, those members are unable to contradict the message that is being spearheaded by its leader, Julius Malema. Because we know that EFF is a cult. So once the supreme leader, the cult leader, has spoken, everyone else within that organization has to toe the line. So within the country, people like the EFF, Julius Malema, the likes of even people who are outside the EFF, the likes of Vusi Thembekwayo, who for some reason think that possessing the PhD means that they are the only thinkers within the country. What the likes of Vusi Thembekwayo do not realize it is that your education, and remember, education also takes different forms. Your certification becomes useless once it does not speak to the needs and the aspirations of the people on the ground. It becomes just an elitist exercise. You also have got the ANC government, senior ANC leaders, including Ramaphosa, Yokumbuzo Nchabeni, and others, who are also part of the campaign of demonizing South Africans who are complaining about genuine issues. And for the ANC, we understand why they do that, because they know that eventually the buck stops at their door. So to avoid taking direct accountability, they now have to look around and demonize people who are complaining. The second characteristic is that this thing, it is funded and coordinated outside of South Africa. Nigeria being chief among those, Ghana, right, and others, who for some strange reason, this is the funny thing about people from those countries. Their countries are a mess, which has led to a situation whereby people are leaving those countries coming down to South Africa. But they never raised a voice. They never took a stand against the government of the day to challenge it. Yet they've got the audacity and the balls to want to challenge South Africans who are demanding about what ought to happen in their own country. Can you see how stupid it is that people have got the balls to make noise about what is happening in other countries, but they don't have the balls to challenge their leaders within their own countries? Thank you guys for tuning in. My name is Sekhosana. The name of the platform is IZWI LABANSUNDU, the voice for Africans. Kama Africa.